Welcome everybody, and I'm glad we're not sitting here dripping and sweltering. There's no members of the public, so I don't have to talk about public question time. Do any of you wish to do additional recordings on top of the one we're doing for you two? No? We have apologies from Mary because she's unwell. Do we accept that? Are there any others? Is that it?
No, that's fine, thank you.
What do we need to do in private session? Well, your appraisal.
2526, item 13, appraisal supervision. All of that will need to be in private session, apart from if you want to go back into public session for the motions. Item 252650, as a staffing matters. There's some of this that I think can be heard in open session, but there are also some comments I want to make confidentially. So can I suggest that that item starts in open session, but then goes into closed session at an appropriate point?
Well, is it sensible to put it immediately before something we're going to do in closed session?
Can come straight after appraisal, and then we'll do training labs.
And then you're not up and down.
Yeah. Yeah, that's lovely.
Okay. Personal and disclosable pecuniary and personal interest. Does anybody have any to declare? No? Do you do any office? Well, you obviously do. All of you have. In every meeting.
Yes. So, in terms of items on the agenda, 252613 appraisal supervision, 252614 pay awards for the Clark team, 252615 other staffing matters. That's all definitely something I need to declare an interest in, and I think the way to handle those items is it's appropriate if I give information that you need from me at the start of these items and answer any queries you might want to put to me, and then equally if you want discussion of the items, I'll leave the room at that point.
Okay.
I'm going to make notes.
I'm not going to make any notes.
Somebody will have to make notes, yeah. Revised DPIs.
Yes, so there's no revised DPIs for committee members to look at. Regarding the staff updates that I sent earlier today, just a reminder to delete those and the email that I sent out today. Apologies that they were so late coming out. I had limited time in the office last week because I spent 2 days at the local public inquiry into footpath 60.
Again.
As well as being noted, the DPIs, as well as being noted here, they will be shared in confidence with all councillors before next full council meeting.
Right, thank you. Minutes of the last meeting. Those who were there, do they agree it's an accurate? Yeah. Do you approve the minutes? Hands up, please. Okay. Things that have arisen from them, external. It's all. I don't need to be here. It's all you.
You definitely do need to be here, Chair. Absolutely, I'm not chairing. That's for sure. So, number one, the external staffing roles review. So the job descriptions are being reviewed this summer in the light of committee changes. So as we talked about in the March meeting, it will be later this year that external review happens once the job descriptions have been reviewed.
Yeah.
And they should be being presented to you in the November meeting. Point number two, the business continuity plan. Again, that's probably going to be put together towards the end of the year. And number three, the disclosure and barring service checks. They're still just mine to process. I'll take this forward. We all sort of need to be in the office together, and that's been rather difficult with Art Week and so forth going on. So It will certainly be done prior to the next staffing meeting in November, and apologies for the delay. What I'll do is I'll share by email that the process is completed with all of you as committee members when it's done.
Thank you.
Number 4, the human resource policies. As you know, appraisal, a new appraisal policy is a later agenda item, and the other human resource policies will be reviewed as time allows, or indeed as new model policies are released by either YLCA or NALC.
Thank you. Any other matter?
No, but I'm happy to answer questions on any of those things.
Are we happy then that the further actions we feel are necessary are being covered? Yep, okay. So we've considered that no further actions other than those already outlined. We need to elect a vice chair. This is not an onerous task. This is not a frequently meeting committee. And have we ever? I mean, if I'm ill, you'd need to chair it. I mean,
I remember you telling me this once. And then you went off. I'm not falling for it again.
So is there anybody willing to be vice chair?
I think I am vice chair at the moment. So no.
Were you vice chair last year?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, I think I was. So I don't mind carrying on.
Does anybody else want to do that?
But now I'm paying heed to what my comrade opposite.
Lauren,
I'm not gonna-
they raised their hand. You're it. Thank you very
Can't
much.
be a finer candidate.
And they've introduced a salary since then. Since you...
Right, I'm going to make you take a serious vote on it now.
All those in favour?
Right, thank you.
Well, if there's no change, I'm not going to.
If there's no chair, I'm not sitting on one of those lumpy chairs. Right, we've got that, the budget.
Yes, so. The Deputy Clerk is prepared a salaries and staff training budget report, as you're aware, and also a projected budget. And there's a further report that I released to you under separate cover on the likely overspend on staffing salaries against budget 2025-26. Rich apologises. The reason for the discrepancy is really he based his projections on the 2023-24 pay scales rather than taking into account the rise that happened last year. So that is why there is that discrepancy.
Right.
So really it's for you now to consider actions arising from that. I know in previous years, as some of you will recall, you've created an EMR in order to make sure that any shortfall is covered.
Yeah.
So that might be something you wish to consider.
I think somebody should propose that, unless you've got further questions, but we need to make sure we've got enough in our kitty and set aside out of the main council budget so that we can meet our commitments to our staff. Any yearly increases are entitled to. Are any of you taking exams at the moment?
No, but there'll be reference to Gemma maybe doing the FILCA starting in early 2026.
So it'll be next year's budget that we would pay. She'd get her rise from it in the 26th.
That's from the training budget, that the cost of the course, and obviously she wouldn't qualify until 2026, 27.
Yeah. So her pay rise would be the following year, but the cost of the course would be this year.
Yes.
Alison.
I was just going to ask on a technical point why it has to be an earmark reserve and why you can't just take the discrepancy out of the general budget for staffing purposes. It seems strange to have an earmark reserve for pay.
When we know we're going to spend it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think.
Do you know?
Actually, we have to do it, don't we?
We have to do it. What we call it is we need to do it, and we need to do it a way that is legal.
Yeah. The budget is the budget. I think it is what my answer to be with that. And really, any alterations you make to what you're expecting should be held to a minimum. Now at this point, it's all speculation because those pay rises haven't yet been agreed. So from that point of view, the risk, in terms of risk management, it's better to put it in an EMR than into the budget. You don't need that extra money in the budget at the moment because we haven't even had confirmed what the pay rise is going to be. Does that make sense?
I mean, it is pretty certain that whatever the pay rise is, we're going to give it to you then. Quite honestly, the three of you.
Well, I mean, there's two ways of looking at it. That one, it's a contractual entitlement, in you as a council has signed up to the local agreement. But two, it still actually does need to be approved.
Yeah, but I mean,
So,
if we are being realistic, let's talk about sensible people setting budgets here as opposed to theoretical possibilities. We're going to give you the rise, and it is going to happen. What's the best way? Is it an earmarked reserve? And can you ask Rich? He may feel, oh, you're all qualified now, aren't you, as well?
I am qualified, but maybe Rich is better qualified.
I'd have thought an EMR would have been if we were expecting this to come in the next financial year, and we were saying we'll set aside some money for next year.
Or if we had some sort of unknown.
It's sort of too late now to prepare this year.
Yeah.
And I'd have thought it would just come out of reserves, personally.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only a theoretical unknown.
Yeah.
we have.
I mean,
But I mean, you
You-
bow to Rich, I guess, he's right,
Yeah.
something we want to go with.
in some ways, you don't need to make a decision about this because it will be November before we can come to you as a staffing committee and say this is the pay rise that's been agreed. So if you want Rich to address that question with you, why it's better in an EMR than just putting it into the budget, he'll be happy to explain.
I think we'd like, I think I speak for someone else. I'd like us to do whatever is required so that as soon as what the rise is agreed, we're able to pay it immediately and there's no delay in paying it.
Right. Okay.
So
Am I speaking for everybody then?
can we put it in an EMR for now because it's not fully been approved and just move it across to the budget as and when it does get
As
approved?
soon as we can.
Yeah.
I'm just not clear what we gain by this. Because
Well, I guess
it's
that's,
an EMR, where's it coming from? It's coming from.
yeah, I guess that's for Rich to decide, but I think it probably would look better than if we moved it into the budget and then for whatever reason this thing didn't happen and then you have to move it out the budget again. You're almost putting it in a reserve pot just for now until we fully
As long
approve.
as the EMR won't make it that we pay you a month late.
In Rich's accounting, the stuff that comes out of the budget comes out of the budget. If more money is needed than is in the budget, it would come out of general reserves. So by putting it into an EMR, you're protecting that part of the general reserves, if that makes sense.
And
Rather
we don't have to then take it to full council to approve or something.
We do with EMR.
Yeah.
With it, do we always take your pay increases to full council? We do, don't we, I suppose, yeah.
But the EMR we do, wouldn't we?
No, but I'm thinking that, what I'm saying is, I want us to use a method that means they get paid as soon as it's approved,
Yes.
not a month late,
Yes.
You as a committee approve the pay rises,
not full council.
not full council, you as a committee.
Well, I would like to ask to leave this in the hands of you and Rich, to say, we would like you to do whatever you think is the best thing to make sure we pay you promptly. And we don't mind what it's called. Am I speaking?
Yeah.
So if we put it in an EMR, can we then move it out with
Yeah.
the EMR without going to full
If
council?
we need
and
us
get
to
approved for
approve
3
an
months later?
earmark, if we need to approve an earmark reserve now, we can. But if that means another layer of approval, we don't want to.
I wouldn't have thought our reserves are that all over the place.
I
No,
don't know.
that's what I just feel. It's sure.
But to take something out of reserves, we do have to go to full council, don't we?
Oh.
We don't have to go to full council for the salary approval,
No.
but we do have to go to full council to get it out of reserves. So maybe we should earmark it.
Yeah.
Am I right? Or will earmarking slow
Let's
it
go
down?
with Rich.
Okay.
Right, so to approve sufficient additional funding from general reserves
Yeah.
to meet pay rises once agreed.
Yeah.
The national pay rises once agreed.
Does Rich need us, or do you need us to do an earmark now in order for that to happen quickly?
That's what he's asked for.
Yeah, so there's probably a reason he's asked for it.
Yeah,
Okay.
right then.
In which case, all those in favour of an earmarked reserve for them?
Lovely.
And if he discovers he doesn't need an earmarked reserve and that will slow it down, we can have an emergency
Only about.
Zoom meeting or something like a 10-minute Zoom meeting or something.
Yeah. Or maybe do it via an email that goes to you all and you all reply,
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah.
Right. Right, thank you.
Okay.
Are there any other questions people have got for me regarding the staffing budget or training budget?
I can see anything that struck me as well. What are you going to study then?
Wow, there's a question, which I will answer later in the meeting.
Oh, is it in your
It's the
appraisal?
appropriate thing, yeah.
Would that training budget then, can we revise that a little? Because I know we've got to the appraisal process yet, but as I see it, as part of your appraisal process, you should be defining what training you need to achieve what you need to achieve over a 12-month period.
Yes.
And at that point, then we should know what training is required, so therefore we should know what, because at the moment, we're taking a guess on what the training budget might be, probably based on previous years.
Yeah.
Rather than actually saying, this is what it
Yeah.
needs to be, because this is the training that's going to take place over the next 12 months.
Yeah.
With some contingencies if anything comes up, obviously.
That's absolutely correct, as you said it. Because we've now both completed the Kilco, and that was a significant extra training cost that you as a council had to meet over the last couple of years. So it's quite good to have that out of the equation. The filter course that I'll be talking about with regards to Gemma, which is the financial equivalent of Kilco, is nowhere near as expensive.
Right.
So whatever training we have, it will come within that budget.
Thank you. Actions arising, are just Jen and Rich double checking that we're doing it the best way to make sure there are no delays really, aren't there?
Yeah.
Appraisal policy review.
Right, so hopefully everyone's had a chance to have a look at the draft policy that got sent out with papers.
Yeah.
A few things that I'd like to just highlight. So previously, we've used a fairly basic approach, which we inherited really, in terms of myself and Rich. And it was in need of reviewing to reflect the council's actual practice, because in a way, it was too basic. It was kind of relying on one appraisal meeting a year, which isn't how we did things. We've always met 2 or 3 times a year, at least, to discuss performance and how what we're doing matches up to the council's needs. So it did need reviewing. The first place I went to was the model policy from the Yorkshire Local Councils Association, which was pretty thin actually. So this is bulkier and more detailed than the one suggested by YRCA. For example, they just had one formal meeting. We want a cycle of 3 meetings so that it feels more of a cycle to make the process more meaningful. And the way those 3 meetings pan out, we basically have a meeting at the start of the council year to set objectives, a sort of midpoint meeting to monitor how things are going, see if there's any training that needs facilitating and so forth. And then the 3rd meeting towards the end of the council year, which is really about reviewing objectives and looking at strengths and areas for development across a year. So we've left this appraisal policy fairly loose, but we've also incorporated into it getting feedback from councillors and so on, which wasn't in the YRCA model at all. So
For the information of people here, last time we did get feedback from councillors, but it was only councillors who worked with the staff for more than a year, so it was really very few people. Out of the 23, it was, what, 4 or 5 or 6. This time it would be the full council, because obviously everybody's now
yeah. This is actually the third version of the draft policy, because I have liaised with the rest of the team on it and made changes according to the feedback I had from Rich and Gemma regarding it. They both wanted to keep some aspects of the informality of the existing system, so we've gone to make sure that the first thing we say in each appraisal meeting is just how are things going. So that was a suggestion that came from Rich and Gemma. So it's had some alterations it's a group effort is what I'm saying. And the performer in particular, you know, that reflects what the three of us I think will deliver, really, what we're wanting from appraisal. In terms of timings, so all 3 staff members are now doing the objective setting, monitoring and review at approximately the same time, and that mirrors the council year and also contractual obligations. So for example, the pay review in terms of performance, that takes place before or close to the start of the financial year. But I'm happy to answer any questions you've got about either the policy or the record keeping we're hoping to move to. And just to say, you'll have seen from what I've given you from my appraisal so far, we have jumped the gun a little bit, and we are using this already, which is a bit cheeky, but I hope that, you know, I hope that we'll...
Well, I think seeing a real one helps us to see that it works, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Does anybody have any queries, comments, improvements?
Can I ask Jane, there's lots of appraisal, which is because it's what we're talking about.
Yes.
This sits alongside supervision, or is it really the same thing? I'm thinking that, you know, 3 appraisals, we're saying 3 appraisals in a year.
Well,
It's one appraisal in
it's one
3
appraisal
stages.
in 3.
Right, okay.
What are we going to do?
Yeah.
How's it going? How has it gone?
Okay,
Yeah.
so that sits within a supervision process?
It does, yes.
I think they're slightly different though, because in a way, the way we supervise is to do with risk management and probity and all of those, to make sure it's proper and honest and open and nobody's fiddling and it's being done properly and thoroughly. Appraisals are about the development of are more concerned with the development of the staff, their progress.
I suppose we're a fairly small organisation in terms of you've got 3 members of staff. So in terms of supervision, this is the way we deliver it. But as you can see in the documentation, there's always scope to have more informal meetings. And Pat will know from when she was staff performance and development lead, you know, we meet more than 3 times a year. And that element of supervision will also come into that informal.
If things get tricky, you can have. There was one period where we had 2 or 3 meetings in a month to kind of sort things out and ignore that, do this. You know, let's wade through all of this sorted meetings.
Yeah. And the other bit.
But I suppose, strictly speaking, I mean, the supervision of the clerking team, as opposed to the supervision of Rich and Gemma, is our responsibility, not the clerks. It's the council's responsibility, isn't it?
I'm not sure about that.
I think it might depend on how we define supervision.
Yeah.
And perhaps we all come with different experiences of it. And my background in social work, supervision was very much a part of what we did. We were having monthly supervision. And then within that, there would be feedback or performance, if you like. But it wouldn't be over bureaucratised, if you like. You know, so I'm thinking, you know, not have too much bureaucracy here, but still be able to give that encouragement or correction or whatever it might be, you know, constructive criticism within that conversation, if you like. So I suppose that, you know, it might come down to semantics really, this is what we call that phrase
Well,
or supervision or whatever.
You're quite right, because for the last 3 or 4 years, we haven't had any problems with any of the members of staff. You know, difficulties or things that, you know, somebody needed to have a word with them and say, you've got to stop doing, you know, people are offended, or, you know, whatever, or actually you're not doing that bit very well. That has never arisen. Everybody has done a really good job. Everybody's been delighted with the job they've done and said, right, well, you could probably get better at this, or you could consider developing yourself in that way. Whether this, and it's hard to judge when everybody, I mean, we are in a lovely position of all trusting each other, and all of the clerical team trusting each other. So whether this would work if suddenly we got somebody on the staff who wasn't like, who turned out not to be like, seemed like, you know, but turned out not to be right. But,
I mean, I think that's a lucky thing for you to say, that we all trust each other. But I mean, I think in both our roles as the clerking team and your roles as councillor, there's scrutiny.
yeah.
You know, that's the key.
I think that's what I
There
was
has
thinking
to
of
be.
when I was using the word supervision, scrutiny.
Yeah. And I think one of the ways we deliver that, I think when you're talking about supervision, you're talking about where are we up to with this and what's going on with that, those kind of conversations. A lot of that gets done through the strategy meetings that we have as a team on a Tuesday. Now sometimes those meetings are few and far between. I mean, I think we had a period through May and June when we just literally were hardly in the office all together at the same time to have a meeting. So we definitely had an 8-week gap where we hadn't had that meeting.
But it had been tense, very intense in March and the beginning of April because of the civic thing and extraordinary meetings and things. So you'd all done extra time in that period.
But that's really the opportunity for us all to gauge where each of us are with the various work streams that the council delivers. I mean, you can call it appraisal, you can call it performance management. This is the main vehicle by which you're developing your staff, but also managing your staff in this organisation. And I'm not sure, I think if we had something separate as supervision, which isn't needed, whereas you do need to have an appraisal policy, that could be an extra bureaucracy. But a lot of what I think you're meaning, Lawrence, I think we deliver through having those staff meetings together.
And group supervision is sometimes as valuable, if not more, than one-to-one.
Yeah.
Though strictly speaking, they all have a one-to-one. I mean, so Mary does Jen does Rich does Gemma, Andy.
When appropriate and with the agreement of the employee, the appraiser may seek feedback from councillors.
Yeah.
Can you do it the other way around as well? So as you may want feedback from councillors, not necessarily the appraisee.
She would be the appraiser.
Appraiser.
I think
Is there an
when you and I
opportunity to do
talked
that?
about this when I was still the staff development person, we assumed that the council would be asked every year, that the questionnaire would go out to the full council every year on, was it just on you or on all three? It was on all three.
It just
Well,
seems a little bit lopsided that the appraiser can ask councillors' views on the clerking stuff, but not the other way around.
Yeah,
Seemingly.
the appraisee can't.
Because it's feeding into the appraisal process, so the appraiser is then going to deliver that feedback to the appraisee.
It
You know,
might
it is a filter. It's there quite definitely because
I'm just thinking, when everything's going fine as generally it does, that's great, isn't it? But there may come a point where you may not agree with what the
Yeah.
appraisers say.
and you may say, I
And you
want
might
all
say,
the
look, I'd like
councillors.
to put this point to the councillors
Yeah,
yeah,
and get their opinion, please.
yeah. The appraisee should be free to ask for either second opinions or the whole council feedback, or if they don't agree, if there is a fallout between.
It's maybe a bit unlikely, isn't it, as we are now, but you don't know what the future
Yeah.
is, do you?
So there should be something for the appraisee as well as the appraiser. I guess we'll say.
I'm not sure. Yeah, no. The reason I'm not sure is, does it matter who is asking councillors for the feedback? The reason it comes through the appraiser, and there has definitely been an issue in the past with this council before my time, with some
Personalities.
some feedback that was given directly from a councillor to a member of the clerking team that led to all kinds of issues. So I do think you just need that safety valve of the information going to the appraiser first.
I'm just thinking,
So
if
that, you
the
know-
appraiser said to you, Jen, I think we've been hopeless this year. We made a real pig's ear of this, this and this.
But you wouldn't be saying
If I
that
was
if
you, I'd like to be saying, I think I like the,
Yeah, I don't accept that. I think
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
very
very
good at
good
that
at
and I did this.
but you would have that feedback from councillors, wouldn't you? So it's very unlikely that I would have thought it's very unlikely that an appraiser is going to be saying something that flatly contradicts the feedback that come from councillors.
Yeah, I mean, they should get the feedback from the councillors before they finalise their appraisal, not the other way around.
Because they are the conduit, they're not the.
Yeah,
I just saw it
Yeah.
as a safety net.
for you,
Themselves.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's not that, I'm not trying to sort of say.
Well, maybe we should create a role in this committee, which is the sort of second opinion person if there is a disagreement. Because you would want at that point, if there was that big a thing, you wouldn't want the whole committee talking to the, you know, if it was Jen and all of us, you'd want a person who wasn't the one who'd done the bad appraisal in the first case, but was one of us, having one-to-ones, possibly off the premises and saying what's.
And the reason for having the additional comment section on each part of the appraisal, I mean, that can be a direct comment from the employee, you know, commenting on.
Ah, right.
Does that make sense? So that, you know, if they've got a comment to make on anything that the appraiser has written, you know, I disagree with this, there is the opportunity to do that before they sign it.
Do we have a procedure if the appraised doesn't accept the appraisal, thinks it's wrong?
Well, they would put comments into the additional comments, and I don't know. I mean, you're possibly looking at a grievance procedure, aren't
Yeah,
you?
you
for that?
probably are. If it's got that bad, it'll be a grievance level, I suppose.
Do you want me to review what I've done and include a section on that?
What, on grievance?
On,
No,
on the appraised disagreeing
on what
with
would happen.
not accepting the.
So what it says under the appraisal discussion, if you look at 1, 2, 3, fourth paragraph down on page 2, under the heading the appraisal discussion, the appropriate forms will be completed and signed by both parties. The appraisee will be given the opportunity to annotate any comments that he or she does not agree with and append any further comment to the appraisal form. So that's the recourse that the appraisee has got.
So that would happen before it came to this committee.
Yeah. Now, whether you want to add something else regarding what action might be taken. I'm not sure. I
Well, the
you-
action would come after the committee endorsed
Yeah,
it, wouldn't it?
you could include something on the committee's role, couldn't you, in adjudicating? I'm not quite sure what word you'd use, but you could add a line about that if you wanted. That at the end of the day, you know, disagreements could be referred to the staffing committee.
I think you need something in there about an opportunity to disagree with the end result. I mean, a couple of things spring to mind. We need an appraisal policy from a council perspective. I get that. You as staff need something to know that you're being supported and developed in the right way.
Yeah.
I think that I can't see what the issues would be at the moment with the people we've got. But again, I wouldn't expect it to get to the point where we got to an appraisal at the end of the year and all these things were brought up about what happened during the year. I would expect it to be handled and dealt
So
with
we'll start to emerge early as the
to
year
give the
on.
opportunity for the staff member to say, well,
What resolution?
this is what I'm going to do. You know, this is performance management. It's performance management. It's not performance management you do at the end of the year for the previous year. It's as you go along. So
We're not
guess-
ticking boxes, we're doing it properly.
as long as there's the opportunity for this form to get amended, because various things will change, there'll be some training or some skill required from Jen next year that she doesn't know about yet, because I guarantee something will come in that she has to learn. That's the way the world. But I do think we need something in there where there's an opportunity if you don't agree with it at the end. I can't see why it would happen, but I would like to see something in there to say if there's a disagreement at the end of the year, the staffing committee or members of the staffing committee will get together and review the process that's happened during the year to give a fair outcome, as fair as it can be, based on the information that we've got. But generally, things like that only happen where there's a disagreement between two people. Usually it's personality clash or something. But I still think there should be something in there to give you that safety net. Yeah.
So what we could do, because at the end, in the third meeting, what's important is a statement of performance for current year.
Yeah.
The agreed statement should highlight key achievements and indicate level of performance. This may be shared in confidence with the staffing committee. So what I could do is put an extra sentence in the appraisal discussion. Under the appropriate forms will be completed and signed by both parties, etc., etc. I could put in something about where the appraiser and appraisee are unable to agree on an appraisal statement. This will be referred to the staffing committee.
As long as everybody else is in agreement, I don't want to force you three to put something in there.
It's a sensible
I just say it's a
safeguard.
safety net for yourselves more than anything else.
That's the way I see it.
Yeah.
I mean, everything seems to be running, as Pat said, running really well with everybody, but who knows what's going to happen over
Well,
the
in
next
the
12
not
months.
that distant past, there were the supervision, the person that the clerk had to speak to was the chair of staff, and there was at least one occasion that I was vaguely aware of, though I was a very new councillor, so I don't know much about it, where clearly there'd been no support. You know, that there was that the clerk wanted support and there wasn't any, or you know. So we do need to make sure it's in there.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So with that amendment, if I make that amendment to the appraisal policy, are you happy to consider recommending the policy and performer to full council?
Who's in favour of recommending it for? Yeah, everybody.
Can I just on top of that, just commend you for I like the training plan. I like the fact that the training plan is linked directly to the objectives, rather than just, that looks like a nice course to go on, why don't I do it sort of thing. And I think that's really good and focus. But of course, training can include much more than just going on. Training can be reading a book or something, can't it?
That's right.
Researching something as much as going on a course.
Or going to a conference of some
Okay,
sort.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's all sorts.
What's going to best meet that training objective, isn't it?
Yeah. And some things crop up accidentally. You hear of this thing that's going on, maybe online or a conference, you go to it, and then that comes up and you think, oh, we don't do any of that, or whatever, you know.
Yeah,
Okay.
we do that. I mean, in fact, you'll see in mine that one of the training things was to go to this footpath 16 map modification local public inquiry, which I spent 2 days at last week. You know, which is some of the best training, better than a lot of my talk training in terms of sort of preparing me for what's going to be an important part of my role, which is, you know, representing you as a council with another public local inquiry.
How is that going, by the way? Surely I mean, is it the same man still trying desperately to get his footpath moved?
Well, it's probably not something we want to discuss in this meeting, Pat. So, but
It's only about the winding of it at the minute.
yes. So
It's not got into the meat yet, has it?
yeah, no, it's the next one along that I'm going to, which is regarding the diversion of the footpath. I think that's what you're referring to, Chair.
Okay, so that's the appraisal recommended. So we've just voted that we will recommend it with the amendments we've just spread out. Use of AI.
Yeah, so if I can just further comment on this, you have all seen the email from Lawrence, which raises a sound point about getting feedback from other local clerks. In terms of financial prudence, really, you know, because if you're going to put some money into this AI, it would be good to get that feedback. So I was suggesting to the chair, but before the meeting started, that it may be that you want to defer this until the November meeting, and we'll see if we can get some feedback. Anecdotally, I think a lot of local clerking teams are probably at an early stage with this, in much at the same stage as us. But we should be able to find some feedback from somewhere that can say whether this particular AI assistant is a good investment for your money.
I'm the one that asked the other question. What do we get back from this? If we were to implement it, if we were to pay this annual sum, I mean, does it mean that we have less clerking hours? Do we have less time in lieu built up? What's the benefit in cash?
It should mean that it sort of reduces the amount of time that we spend on both producing agendas, reports, all the kind of admin stuff that we minutes, all the kind of stuff that we spend a lot of time on, administratively speaking. It should be a way into cutting down some of that. And of course, if you do cut down some of that time, that then releases time for the projects that you've got as part of your priorities. And I mean, I'm the only member of the clerking team at the moment that's got a significant amount of toil built up. Gemma's got some that she'll use up during the summer. I think I've referred later to the amount of toil I've still got. You know, I would love to be doing just 25 hours a week. This month has been much better, but then on the other hand, there are some things which I keep thinking I need to spend more time
So
on.
might we be able to attribute those sort of savings to something like this? And don't get me wrong, I'm all for the use of technology, and I think it's great that these things are about. But, you know, back in my working days, if I wanted to spend money on an annual
To
contract,
show
the
how
first
you
question
save.
would be, what you're saving with it.
Yeah.
So can we ask you, when we start using AI, now this may mean extra time in the short term, to in some way use your timesheets to record times, maybe do an AI timesheet, maybe the AI has a timesheet, I don't know.
It's another package.
But something like some record of what you've been able to do instead of, or measured in hours. I mean, hours are the only thing we can measure that, aren't
Yes,
they?
it is. Yeah.
Can you give
Yeah.
some thought to how we might do that? Things you've been able to delegate to AI and measure them? All three of you?
Absolutely. Yeah, that should be part
Once we
of.
pay for the kit though, the kit is 500 quid and the annual licence is 360.
Mhm.
Once we've already committed to getting the
Yeah,
kit,
but we
you know,
can
reviewing
appraise
it
the
afterwards,
first.
we've still spent that already.
Yeah, we have, and we
Yeah.
won't know until the first year is over whether it was worth it. And we may, at the end of the first year, when it's been doing timesheets, you can probably tell it to
And then
do
the license is
timesheet.
quite small actually.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It was the, you know, the two combined was what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking, find out what else, you know, who's used this and.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Well, we're going to do
Yeah.
more homework before we
Yeah,
go
yeah,
into
yeah.
it.
Can I also ask, if you're going to do this and use AI, does the tool that you're looking at give you everything that you want to do? Because I'm thinking stuff like if it's around being able to write minutes quicker or being able to put agendas together quicker for specific purposes, that to me is almost just like, well, here's a template we've already got, this is what it looks like. But I'm thinking of stuff like, if you're going to use AI and you're going to do it properly, the time savings in admin. So when Gemma writes a piece to go on the internet, for example, that can be done much quicker through AI, right? And that's the reason, the way I see it is this will free up your time, all three of you, to develop and do the things.
To
that
do
you
valuable work,
yeah,
not
rather than
make
monotonous
mundane work.
stuff.
Yeah.
But for stuff like, I mean, you must respond to so many emails that you have to go through and write and formulate and rewrite, and
Yeah.
you can use AI for all that. You tell it what you want to do and it'll come back and it'll write something that looks from a legal perspective
And
fantastic.
and-
But I'm just trying to understand if this tool will give you,
yeah.
so where are your biggest time savings going to be? Is it really in writing minutes or is it really in putting an agenda together that's nearly the same every meeting? I'm just trying to understand from all three of you's point of view,
Yeah.
where you see you could save time by using AI.
Gemma is already adept
Yeah.
at using AI. She uses it, for example, for the news items that go onto the website and things that go to the local publications in
Yeah.
newsletters that we, and she uses it to formulate quite a few of her longer emails as well. So, you know, she's already adept at doing that. Rich is good at looking at quite niche things
Yeah.
and getting feedback from AI on it, or getting responses. Sometimes it does lead us down the wrong road.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I can give you an example of that in that not so long ago, you know, a little path that Rich was going down on this made us think, my word, you know, the Civic must hold an alcohol licence for its events and things. Does that mean that we're not allowed to have council meetings here? But actually, when we went back to the
It's in
law,
the same room.
which AI wasn't doing specifically,
Yeah.
it's about the fact that there's no alcohol being served when we've got these meetings in this room here, which does not have anything to do with the alcohol licence.
Cheers, Andy. Yeah, because we're here at the same time as the wine tasters sometimes.
But they are down
They're
there.
downstairs.
Yeah, so.
No, we did talk about joint meetings at one point.
But you know, I did have a slight half-hour panic thinking,
Oh, it's the entire premises.
but
I understand that if you have like a Zoom meeting, you can get minutes from that,
Studio.
from the Zoom,
Yeah.
like, I've
That's
used
right.
it, but
Oh, sometimes it doesn't do the right spellings most of the time. Because
but you probably call us on it now.
yeah,
But
sometimes.
I assume some packages are better than others.
It depends really, but
I think what you're saying is what Glenn's saying.
AI is
We need to be very clear what we want out of this
yeah,
before we
well, also
say.
to be careful as well because
Yeah.
AI can be clever at learning. It can learn quicker than an infant, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So it's like you feed an infant something, but with this, you feed something, and it's grown up to be an adult, or that quick, and it can. But yeah, but
Is it
it's
sort of
all
saying,
right.
I'm sorry, Jen,
Yeah.
I can.
Yeah. There's something like that.
Can I just ask about the costs? Is that actually 495 plus 360 per unit, or is it 495 for each unit, and then 360 for the licence costs for the council.
It's 495 for each unit, and in fact I think some of the units might be more than 495.
Right.
So of the 4 units we've looked at, this is a sort of entry level one, if you like, the AI assisted meeting management, and that is a huge bureaucratic, time consuming burden.
Right.
There is no doubt about it. So that was why we picked that one out as being the way to dip our toe into the water, really.
Okay.
Whereas the other ones, there's a planning support, there's community engagement, financial oversight. You know, there are other ones. I know from going to an SRC meeting where Cloudy IT presented on this, that they are one of the leading providers of AI tools to local councils. But you're quite right, you know, in terms of going and finding some feedback from other councils before we invest that money.
Because I went on their website and obviously, you know, they quote lots of feedback from people who think it's the best thing since sliced bread, but they would do, you know.
Yeah.
So we want to get more
Yeah.
unbiased.
Can I suggest that with everything we've said, we defer it to November and come back with more information?
Yeah.
What we
But I
can
think
get
this has
from-
been a useful discussion
It has,
because it
absolutely.
informs what you're looking, it's helped you, as you know, we need to. And if anybody has a thought after the meeting where they think, actually, shouldn't we be thinking about this, email Jen, let's make sure it's in the thinking pot.
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking slightly different to that, if I'm honest. I'm thinking that while we can give Jen and the team time to look at it till November, I think there's an interim process here whereby some of this committee need to have a meeting or a couple of meetings in between to find out how that information is going, to find out what your thoughts are, and, you know, what else. And rather than just wait till November and coming back with a process, I'm just thinking, you know, we're in July now, November's 4 months away. Whether or not we should.
Dreaded working group.
Well, I didn't want to use that. I didn't want to use that phrase, to be honest
It's
with you.
becoming a bit of a dirty word, wasn't it?
It would just be good for maybe 1 or 2 of us around this table to understand better what you're trying to do and how you're going to use it, rather than just.
Because I, for one, I'm talking in generalisations, and I know what the generalisations mean, but I don't know what the nuts and bolts would
Do
do.
we know if we have any?
Tom?
I didn't say experts.
Tom?
but
Tom is a
there
software
may be people,
writer.
well, there we go. So it might be useful to do a bit of a search amongst the 23 of us to find out whether there's some knowledge base.
Tom, definitely, that's what he does for a living. So, have you got expertise on this?
Absolutely not.
You had your hand up. I was thinking,
I would
oh,
love
she's got it.
even though my suggestion was, because I don't know anything about this at all, was that rather than doing like an open search, it's just, that's too difficult. But if Jen and the Clarkin team knew what areas they wanted help with, that would be the best thing. And then what I was saying, you know the package you're looking at, like others, is the one that would deliver that. Because I think what would be awful if we had something where we end up making all our statements something like the Metro newspaper. It's just, it's the same. And we don't want that to. We want to be our council with efficiency.
Yeah, but there will be, I mean, when Gemma does a press release, she reads it and amends it. She doesn't just send it out unchanged.
No,
from
I'm
AI.
not saying that she would do that, but the ultimate thing is that you can just, if
If
it's
Well,
it's 80% of the work, it's
yeah,
useful.
well, it can identify which bit of the work, yeah.
I think we need to find out what Tom's availability is, because he is an expert and he's the obvious person to be. Perhaps with you, Glenn, because you're obviously a bit more knowledgeable than I
I've
am.
used AI.
Maybe you and Tom could. Are you interested in being part of that group? You obviously use it.
Well, in a way, yeah. I know most of it, I know, but it's still, well, I won't say it's infancy, but it's slowly getting common. And I know universities have said to their students, do not use AI, or you'll be, well, you won't get the grade you want. So it's really AI itself is still in its debating stages at the moment, because there is concerns about it. There's also positive.
We're still at the Betamax.
Don't get the Betamax version.
Yeah, Lauren?
Just two comments. One is that this isn't just for committee meetings, this could be used for working groups as well.
Yeah.
And when we may not want parking time to be used and so on. So I think it could be useful from that point of view. The other thing I was going to ask Jen, I think I know the answer. Have we asked Cloudy IT whether they would send a rep to do a demo?
They would send a rep to do a demo, I'm sure. So because I contacted them and I've not had a chance to answer their email yet.
It's
I think it would be-
£250 plus
But
Well, is it possible to have a trial deal with them where you buy you hire by whatever it is you do the package from whomever for 3 months and see how it goes?
Because I think this may not just be a sale for them, this is also another council and a decent sized council as well.
Yeah.
Saying, yeah, we're using this, you know.
Are they able to say as well which councils actually use it?
Yeah.
We could go and talk to them.
Well, what about if I can arrange an open informal meeting, we'll call it, not
I
necessarily,
think we need to make sure Tom's at it.
and invite Cloudy IT to present. See if they'll do something via Zoom, presenting, and as you said, it's going to be as useful for working groups as it is for us as a parking team as well. So if we make it open to all councillors, and if we make sure that the 3 members of the clerk team can also attend, do that. I mean, where are we now? July, so August, September, October time. So it's in advance of your November meeting.
Can you ask them which councils anywhere near us or that we know people in they are supplying? Because it'd be good to talk to one of their customers or 1 or 2 of their customers.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
Just a bizarre idea. Would it best to decide before November?
How do you mean?
Like, because I know there's going to be a lot of training on it, people, and you all the stuff.
Oh, you need to get everybody trained up before before we get busy again during the recess.
Yeah.
I suppose if it was a working group, then that working group could make a recommendation before November's staffing meeting, couldn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what.
Is that where you're coming from?
In a way, like, I'm trying to use working.
I keep trying not to say that.
Isaac is concerned that we'll make we'll make a decision and then we'll agree and then it won't get bottled October and then there'll be training and they won't be up and running till Christmas or something. Yeah.
The truth is though, I mean, if you have the meeting in September and then whatever comes out of that goes into papers for, it's fairly, is it the 23rd of November we're meeting? Can't remember. No, it's the 3rd of November, it's an early one. It's one of the early ones. And then this staffing committee on the 3rd of November agrees it. I'm not sure what you'll gain from trying to do things earlier.
3 weeks earlier.
She's trying to get you a nice break, besides thinking after Christmas, I've got to do this big training before tomorrow.
It shouldn't be that.
I'm not sure why you think it will be a big training. For me, exactly, Isaac.
Compared with
Now you're worried.
compared with Ickler and Sigler and things.
I'm wondering what's on your mind that I don't know about.
It's just, it can be complicated, you see, because you've got to know what to put in it and whatnot, because you don't know if it's basic programming, or is it complicated or whatever.
That should come out of
That's
this.
what, yeah.
No,
And we'll see the demo.
Meeting
Make
with
su-
the-
well, I think we should make sure I accept the demo as well,
Right,
as well as Tom and Glenn.
And Glenn.
And you three,
yeah.
and whoever else can or wants to.
Looking online as well, they seem to do 1 or 2 webinars where they're promoting certain tools that they've got
Yeah.
at certain points for an hour, you know, on gov meetings for town and parish councils. On the
Is that
29th of July,
IT?
yeah. So that might be useful for a couple of
Well,
people.
you could go to that anyway.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, just dial in and see what it's all about.
Yeah. Okay, so in terms of the motions and everything, you just want to defer all of that to the November meeting, and in fact we might come back with something different.
Yeah. Okay, smash it. So we're not approving the expenditure right now,
No.
or are we? Do
No.
we need to approve it now so that when we all agree we've found the right thing, we can buy it immediately?
We don't know what we're approving yet, do
I think,
No.
we? We don't know what we're approving.
well, up to 855. Says here, to consider approving expenditure of up to 800. It'll turn out to be 1,020 and we won't have enough, so we might as well.
Yeah, you may want to defer it until we know what it
Yes.
is. Yeah.
Any other action? Well, I think we've just
Yeah.
been through all that. Cicla?
Yes, I just, I know it's already been acknowledged that Richard is got his Gilper, and that he's had a pay rise associated with that as well. But I just felt it was right to include it on the staffing committee
Yes,
agenda.
yeah.
Because
And to
obviously-
repeat our congratulations
Yeah.
formally. Yeah.
Yes, so that was why I wanted
Yeah.
to put it on really. There's no other sort of action, but
Right.
I will put the congratulations of the staffing committee.
Now, appraisal supervision, which bit do we want to do before we switch the recording off? What order did we say we were going to?
Well, I think all of this probably needs to be heard in private session, so shall I?
Okay.
I'll go and switch it off.
Right. Can I propose we change standing orders, that we continue? We've only got a couple of little items to do. All those in favour? Thank you. So, pay awards.
Well, I've just got a few other things to say in public session about other staffing.
Oh,
matters,
right,
if that's
sorry.
okay. Chair?
Yeah.
So we're still on 252615.
Right.
Just to say that to my knowledge, no further postings via social media regarding the desirability of cuts to the staffing budget that led to some of the issues reported back to staffing in the March meeting, where individual members of staff were linked by acquaintances to the online chat and directly asked if that meant their job. All of that has been nothing further regarding that.
Good.
And consideration of staffing costs is now being directed via the proper channels. So it'll be an item on our agenda in November, which Isaac has asked me to put on, which is absolutely the way things should be done. So just a request to all councillors via this committee, so it'll be in the minutes and therefore get to all councillors, to give adequate notice for pieces of work that they wish officers to do, and similarly to give adequate notice of agenda items in motions. It is one of our standing orders, Standing Order 9B, that stipulates that written notice of wording of motions should have at least 10 clear days notice to the clerk or other officer before the meeting. In other words, if you want something on the agenda, agendas go out on a Tuesday, the previous Thursday you really need to get the information to the clerking team by.
Right.
So, this will go into the minutes and therefore get out to all councillors. Just a bit of reinforcement really about giving notice.
Okay.
Back to
But
to
there's no
14.
actions, yeah,
No.
so back to 14.
So in
We've
terms,
just said we have to give plenty of notice to Clarkington if we want motions on agendas. Best part of a fortnight, basically.
so agendas go out on a Tuesday. Get the notice by the previous Thursday, and that's
What
then
is
the
the
10 working
process?
days.
For getting things onto agendas.
Ring us up or email us,
Where can they
basically.
come from and who has
I
the
mean, in the
decision?
old days, they used to come from committee chairs. It was a bit more controlled, but we now have working groups who may well need direct access and not go through a committee chair.
But individual councillors can and do contact us. So if they want particular things on the agenda.
But do they automatically get them? Because,
Mm.
I mean, the agendas are too long. So maybe we should make it known to councillors that unless it's an exceptional thing, it's all the things to go on the agendas in general should come through committee chairs or working group chairs, and the individual items should be very rare for inclusion on an agenda, because there shouldn't be things coming up from one councillor that nobody else has heard of that go
Yeah.
onto a full council agenda. They should go to whichever committee first.
I was thinking of individual committees as well. You know, it would be slightly odd, wouldn't it, if I was to go to the planning meeting and see something on the agenda I have no knowledge of.
Yeah.
Because a councillor's gone to Gemma and said, will you put that on?
Yeah.
I'm just wondering what the process is.
Yeah.
I would expect if a councillor wanted to do that, they come
To whichever committee it was.
as chair
Talk
and then
to
I
the-
would
yeah.
talk to Gemma and say,
Yeah.
yes, we'll put that one on.
I mean, there will be emergencies, and there'll be, you know,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know, but
Yeah.
I mean,
So-
maybe
so-
we need more discipline, because we've got, our agendas are far too long, and Glenn, when you do the good meeting training, first thing you'll be told is get control of the agenda.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I mean, for full council, I would have thought that everything would have gone through you first, and then you liaise with Jen to develop that.
But in an ideal world, it would all come from committees, wouldn't it?
Well, your
Yeah.
standing orders specify in standing order 9 that, you know, people, individual councillors can ask for particular items, motions to be put on.
But
They just
does
need
it
to
also
give.
say, and they will always get them?
It does. In some things, some things haven't got on, but it's generally because we've not got them in a timely way. I'm trying to think if I've ever said an outright no to something.
I think we
I
should
don't
think
think
about
that.
when we might say outright no's and what we might say to councillors, which could be part of Glenn's, the general conduct of councillors thing about, you know, can we think twice about adding things to already very long agendas? Because it reduces the depth of what we do for the people of the valley. You know, if we've got a 45 item agenda, we're given a couple of minutes to everything. Well, they deserve better than that. So,
I can think of one or two occasions when
Yeah.
there's been things on the agenda and I think, why on earth are we even talking
Yes.
about this?
yes,
I'm not going to mention specifics,
No,
it doesn't
no.
matter, but
yeah, me too.
I just wondered about the process for
Yeah.
getting on there.
Over the last year, there have been a couple of things where I queried and, if you like, pushed back and said to the councillor, you know, that would this be better off being, you know, going on to this agenda rather than this agenda or whatever.
Yeah.
But some of your colleagues can be quite insistent,
Oh, yeah.
and it is in standing orders that, you know, it gives people the scope to get things onto the agenda.
Do we need
And
to
you wouldn't, well, you know, you wouldn't want to.
change the standing order? Not really,
No.
because there'll be things
Not
crop up
that
that are
bit,
completely legitimate, but you know, that we're all glad somebody puts on the agenda. But maybe you can include that in your, be a bit more disciplined about what you try to ram into an agenda. Does full council really have to discuss it?
Yeah, and you know, maybe your officers could, we can refer things to the chair, but it isn't really the chair of the committee that decides what goes on the agenda. It is the officer.
Well, I think we would all exhort you to sing them. A bit more often, which is hard for you, puts you in a difficult position.
So we're on to
Pay awards.
252614. Yeah,
Yeah.
this will only take a second to say you'll be aware of where the local government pay claim is from the paper that accompanied this. So that's the position we're in. We're still waiting to hear. Once a pay award has been confirmed, any pay rises backdated to the 1st of April and should be paid out as soon as possible. You've already discussed that and the actions you want to take to make that happen.
Yeah, I think we would like to ask you to do whatever actions are necessary to make that happen. Am I right? Yes? All those in favour? Thank you. We've done other stuff in training. Well, we've got a list. You don't have to talk us through that, do you?
No,
Because we've already overrun.
no, you've seen. Just to say that myself and Richard booked onto some courses that I can let you know about with the Society of Local Council clerks. Rich and me are doing an introduction to understanding quotes, tenders in contract management in August. It'll probably just reaffirm what we already know, but given that the law changed just last year, we're doing that. Rich is also booked onto SRCC training, Council is a landlord, and I'm booked onto training civility and respect, understanding councillor behaviour.
Ah.
Yeah. That one.
Yeah.
Each of those is
But they
£30
might-
plus
what-
VAT.
with any luck, you'll get stuff from that gives you ways of saying no in a charming way.
Yeah. So I hope you're happy to approve those specific trainings. Yeah.
Excellent. Are there any other matters, any actions with regard to staff training we feel we need to take? No? Thank you all for your patience. I'm sorry we've overrun.